right.
So we are on our way back to Indianapolis right now. We're going through Illinois. I've got Sage holding the phone here. Give it a sec to get some people in the chat here.
Sure.
I'll let you kind of keep it focused on you because you got the phone.
Yeah. We'll take some really compelling highway footage here.
There is a button on there if you want to. Yep, you already got it.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna put a. Hey Brandon, how are you? Hey Stan. Man, Stan, you're up in New York. When do you? You're like always just waiting for something to happen. Stan is another 3751 owner that we see a lot on the Bus Grease Monkey forum, and he follows me on my Amalgamated Sage Facebook page, and so we're driving down the road. I should blow on the phone just to create some wind noise. What do you think?
Oh no, I can't handle another day of comments about wind.
All right, so we're in Illinois right now. Tyler is driving.
I think we're vaguely near Effingham.
Okay, so we're kind of near Effingham right now in Illinois, and Tyler's driving. I'm sitting in the passenger seat. We're both kind of tired. It's about 16 hours to drive from Snyder to Indianapolis, and then I have another 6 hours today to drive back to Traverse City from Indy.
And that's just not 16 hours after doing nothing for a few days. That's 16 hours after the 16-hour thrash down there, plus working on the bus for a couple of days in not great weather.
Yeah. So why don't you talk a little bit about, I'm going to flip back to the road so that I can see some of these comments.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about what ended up happening and what's going on with the bus. I guess, the bottom line is we're not with the bus. We're in my little rental car here, heading back, defeated after part two of this trip. Why don't you explain basically what happened? You did kind of allude to it yesterday, but why don't you get into some more detail on some of the stuff that's been going on?
Yeah, now that we're not standing in the middle of a tornado. So, on the end of, I believe it was the day 6 video, whatever the last full video we posted of it, on the test drive, I was following him in the Jeep because he asked if I wanted to ride in the bus, and honestly, I thought it'd be a better idea to follow in this because I can get an eye on what's going on in the back of the bus. I knew that we have some oil leaking through the blower. I wanted to watch the airbox drains. I wanted to watch for leaks or anything weird out of the back of the bus. I wanted to watch the smoke output and stuff like that. And we did a couple slow laps around, and it's no big deal. I'm seeing normal amounts of smoke for a bus that's been sitting this long, and nothing crazy. We're doing some brake checks. The brakes are working as expected. A little bit of a pull, but the drums are rusted. We've only got an initial adjustment on them. And the first time that he really gets in the throttle and runs it hard, pretty much immediately, I'm on the radio, hey, stop, we have a problem. So the vent that comes out of the top of the governor, that's going to be your crankcase vent for that engine. It's what, a 3/4 inch diameter hose?
Yeah, it's just a garden hose, pretty much.
And it's flowing like a garden hose with engine oil. It is just leaving a straight trail down the road at high RPM until the RPM comes back down, and it's not stopping. So, I'm like, that's not good. But it clears up a little bit, and I'm like, well, maybe, something's going on. We'll let it sit for a sec. So we pull off to the side of the road and stop when we get back around. It's a big square, the road that the guy lives on. No traffic, perfect place to do a little test drive. And as we're sitting there, we're still getting a puddle out of the airbox from the blower seals that we know are bad. And it's starting to leave a puddle under the crankcase vent, but it's turning milky and gray in a hurry. And that's never a good sign. Condensation's not going to mix in with it and make it milky. You need something like the oil pump to pick it up and actually mix the oil and the liquid together, the water, coolant, whatever it may be. You have to mix it together to get that. It's a wet road, but if you just pour oil on the road, it's going to puddle up on top of the water. You have to mix it to get that color. So, he's saying it's feeling like it's got a misfire at high RPM. It's missing out, and the smoke kind of lines up with that. If you guys had seen the videos when we were there the last time, randomly it would get a misfire and we have a nice puff of smoke, and it dead lines up with that misfire. And that's not acting like a normal. Usually when an engine sits, we have a valve seat, we get a little bit of rust or debris in it, and you'll have a cylinder down. And if you remember, like when we were in Ohio, not on Sage's bus, but on Mark's 4104, that thing was just a mosquito fogger for a few minutes. That's how a bad valve seat will act until it cleans up.
Well, and the 4101 I had was like that.
Same thing. We fogged out a trailer park. When
we were driving around that barn, I know I really let into the gas at one point, and I let out a huge smoke fart. That all went away after about 50 miles on the highway where we were actually driving and things had a chance to warm up, and that went away. And that's not what was happening with this one.
No, and I was concerned at that point, but after some time of it running and idling, it started to clear up, and it wasn't quite sitting right, but I was fine with it. It was getting better. We put it down to maybe we did just have a poorly seating valve seat. It's not unheard of on a Detroit that's been sitting. And I'd heard a couple comments here and there from the previous owner of, hey, I've had to add coolant to it over time. I never could figure out where it was going. And, same thing, I'm assuming maybe there's a leak up in the heater loop or something like that you're not seeing. It's up in the bay, which when we refilled the cooling system on this trip, we came to find that the heating loop is disconnected. It's not filled. So that coolant was going somewhere. And, after all these things are coming together, we park it, come back that next morning because it was raining, it was cold, we were pretty defeated that night. It was kind of just time to take a step back, give it the night, come back in the morning with a fresh mind. And I decided we're going to pull the airbox inspection panels. I wanted to see if we had a really gouged up piston or a cracked liner or something like that. Something that would be a definitive nail in the coffin on that engine, but something that would give me a good answer of why it was doing what it was doing. So I pull the airbox cover off. The first thing I notice is the screw that comes out of it, because the panel's usually stuck on. You usually need a screwdriver or pry bar to pop it off. But it's not just oily, it's sludgy. So that's telling me that those blower seals have been doing that for a while. So we go to the next step. I pop that cover off. You can see in the bottom of the airbox, there are pools of oil, not just a small amount. I mean, it's pooled up in there. Okay, I'm expecting that. It's a little worse than I was expecting to see, but that's fine. So from there, I kind of lean down in to look at it over the front of the blower where it goes to the governor. I get my light up in there, and every intake port at the bottom, the little, the circle at the bottom of it, full of coolant. Just bright green, fresh coolant. And the coolant that came out of that was not clean. That was drained out while we were gone because the temperature got pretty low, so the owner drained it for us. Because we had added some water to top off the system while we were there, a couple of gallons from the hose, just to make sure that it would, hold fluid. But that was our brand new antifreeze we just put in, and it's getting into the engine. So between the amount of smoke we're having, that random high RPM misfire, the bad blower seals, and now that we're getting coolant into the engine, we kind of sat and made the decision there with time and weather and all that.
Pretty much when we knew the engine was done, that was it. I'm like, okay, time to go. It was crummy weather. The rest of the stuff we have to do, we have to adjust the slackers on the brakes a few more times after we drive it. It's buttoning up things. The brake lights, one contact needed to be, sanded and cleaned up on the brake lights. We're down to a very small punch list of things before it was ready to roll.
Maybe an hour worth of work more to get the brake lights fixed, to grease it and adjust the brakes. That thing would have been on the highway. We'd have been coming home with it. But, yeah. So, we've had some questions already this morning. Let's see. So, Stan, of course, has asked what's going on. I think I'm sufficiently tired. Would you say you're sufficiently tired at this point? Yeah, and I'm only going to be home for like 2 days, and I have to go down to Tennessee to do an engine swap in an Eagle.
So we're dropping Tyler off in Indianapolis, which is, probably about 2.5 hours from here.
About 200 miles away.
Yeah, so 2.5, 3 hours from here. And then I have to drive another 6 hours back up to Traverse City today. I want to be home tonight. So we're, this is 22-hour trip from Traverse City to Texas. It's a 16-hour trip from Indianapolis to Texas. And so we're a little kind of road fried after crawling around that bus all over the place. My arms are sore, and I'm whipped, but that's kind of half the fun of it too. It's, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's just kind of how it is when you get done with these things. So that's kind of where we are right now. as far as our mood. I'm not really angry. I'm frustrated. I get a little disappointed when you find out that you probably have a $4,000 to $6,000 repair ahead. But at the same time, an engine where I know exactly where it is and things like that. It's an inevitability, and it's like if we get it done and out of the way now. I don't know. I'm just trying to rationalize it, but
it's going to make you feel a lot more confident on that 1,200-mile drive home.
Well, just owning it all together. I mean, the brake, all the other systems are in really good shape. Everything is complete. The air steer system is great. It works. The windshield wipers work. Everything on this thing works. He told me that he had to, for DOT inspection every year, he had to make sure, the air horns work and all that stuff. So, it's my other bus, the one that's 78 years old, there's so much of it that's missing, or it's just been pulled out, or, that bus is really a little bit different than this one. This one's mostly complete. So if I put a new engine in with a new compressor, I'll upgrade the alternator. I'll have a stellar bus in this, but certainly I'll have some money into it as well. So we're a little frustrated. So finding a replacement engine, there was a question that Frederick asked. California has outlawed these two-stroke engines, and I was a couple of weeks ago. As a matter of fact, if you go to This Old Bus on YouTube, that's Scott Cook. Scott is another friend of Scott Crosby, the Bus Grease Monkey, and I had a chance to meet him, and we sat down and talked for a while, and we took a tour of a stellar Silversides bus. Find This Old Bus and find that Silversides tour. That was a great bus. But we talked to these old timers who, when we were in Arizona, who all live in California, and essentially 671s you can't use them anymore. So a crate rebuild engine, if you can find one there, it doesn't have a lot of value anymore to them. And so I have some connections with guys. There's some legendary bus guys out there that I've talked to, and I just need to get on the phone and see if we can track one down. I certainly will talk to Gene Russell at Russell's Diesel Service. I've got a contact down in Dallas, or down in Houston, I'm sorry, an old bus guy in Houston. I'm pretty confident that I can find a really nice rebuilt engine somewhere, because there's tons of these things. There's millions of them, and it's just a matter of finding the right person who knows where a good one is, and then getting it to Snyder. So that's part of the work that has to go on there. But we'll find it. It's like anything. It's like finding parts for Volkswagens or any other car like this. There's the network of people. You throw it out there, and then you start finding things turning up.
Patrick just found a ready-to-go crate motor, which it's the wrong rotation. The blower's set up on the wrong side, but it was dirt cheap and it had all the turbo parts he needed. I mean, they are out there and they're reasonably priced.
Yeah, Patrick just found a rebuilt turbo 671.
Right-hand rotation with the blower on the right side of the block. So
yeah, he's
completely backwards for a Silversides.
He's going to have to pull it all apart and turn it around, but it's a rebuild. So anyway, so the engine is, it's part of the hunt, if you will. We'll get on it. So we're looking for a left-hand engine. Somebody was asking, a left-hand 671 that would come with a blower. I mean, the good news is I was planning on now having to pull the blower off because the blower seals are out of it. Now I don't have to worry about that. I'll just buy a complete engine. I have a brand new compressor, so I don't need the compressor. And then I need probably an alternator. It's a fairly small alternator. If I could find a bus engine and negotiate to get it with the alternator, that would be great.
Like a 50D end?
Yeah. So, that's pretty much what I need. Let's see if there's some other questions here. So Stan wanted to know, do you think that the water was frozen at one point?
It's very possible, because when we got out there, we added some water to it, but we didn't add a considerable amount.
Oh, we probably put 2 gallons in.
Yeah, but for how... Because the guy whose property it's on tested the coolant, and when he found out that it wasn't... He said it was good to like 20-something degrees.
Right.
He went ahead and drained it for us. And I mean, it's possible with how long that old stuff was in there and how many. I mean, it's been like 20 something years since it's been on the road, but over 6 years since he's even started it and ran it. It's possible that it could have froze somewhere in that time period. I mean,
so how long in terms of time is it to remove and replace an engine?
Good news is we have access to tractors and forklifts. We have access to the equipment to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think we found a perfect spot. It's a concrete, it's covered. We found a great spot to do the work.
I'd say about a week though, but you never know. I mean, when we were trying to get the transmission off of Dad's bus, we spent a full 10-hour day trying to get one bolt out. You never know what you're going to run into, but usually it's about a week is a safe guess for the swap. You know, it's pulling a 671 out and putting a 671 back in. Silver sides, like the rear gear train housing with the bell housing adapter, I believe is silver side specific.
Yeah.
We'll have to swap the trunnion over on the front to be able to mount the engine, and some other stuff like that will have to be swapped over from the new engine if it's not out of a silver sides, which my guess is it won't be. But I think a week is a good guess, 5-6 days. You know, it could be quicker, but you never know what you're going to run into. You're always one seized bolt away, which luckily this is a Texas bus, and so far we really haven't had to find any seized or, you know, corroded bolts on this thing. They've all come apart very nicely.
Roy wants to know what we think of this rental Jeep that we have here.
I really like it. I have no complaints. I mean, it's comfortable to drive, it's quiet, it's got a decent sound system, tons of storage. The fuel mileage isn't bad, well, by my standards.
It's got good leg room for me. I'm super tall, so this I fit in it pretty well. You know, we also are filled up with tools here. Let me see if I can show you the kind of the back. We've got all of our tools and just all kinds of stuff's back there, and so that's, you know, that's some weight. Neither of us are you know, slim thin guys, so we certainly are adding some weight to it. And we've been cruising at 80 the entire time. I mean, I'll put 3,200 miles on this thing when I'm all said and done in a week.
We're averaging 22, 23 mpg at 80 with
yeah,
all this gearing.
I mean, cruising at 80, we're getting pretty decent mileage for an all-wheel drive vehicle. So, you know, I probably wouldn't buy one for me.
I'd be looking at one.
Tyler likes it. This is kind of more his style.
This is a Trailhawk trim packaged Compass. So this is a full off-road package on the newer Jeeps.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
So he likes it. I think
it's white and black. That's my color scheme.
I worked really hard to get one of these instead of like a sedan. I travel a lot, so I know how to work the counter to get upgraded into something different than a, you know, whatever 4-door car. So Tim thinks that you need a pink bunny suit.
Yeah.
That should be the official uniform of like the Bus Grease Monkey Cartel. We should, like, anybody who's like working on these buses, we should all, that's your dad should like
I think we should have showed up the first time to Texas, never meeting this guy in person after buying this bus. Both of us hop out of the truck in pink bunny suits.
I think that would have been a really bad idea. I think these guys needed to get to know who we were before. They were really kind of checking us out. I think
this is middle of nowhere, West Texas, and you got a guy from Upper Michigan and a guy from Indiana just showing up out of nowhere.
No, I think we sort of baffle the people that were around. The owner works in a gas plant. His wife and family own a industrial parts supply. That's where we're getting a lot of our parts from. They make hoses, and they've got they actually had the seals for this blower, which blew me away. The owner's wife's brother, or the owner's brother-in-law, is a Detroit diesel certified mechanic. So he's kind of been interested. He's older. He doesn't really want to help us, but he's been really interested in what we're doing, and he's put his feedback. You know, he's given us some feedback on some of this stuff. So you know, remove and replace, you're looking at probably 5 days. I bet he could do it in 3. It depends on, like, it's like you've seen enough of these videos. If you watch them, you know, one stuck bolt can turn into a 4-hour project for somebody to have to drill it out. So that's the kind of stuff that makes it variable.
Like every trunnion bolt I had to extract out of your other bus.
Yeah, that was a nightmare. That was a whole week of just removing bolts. Brandon wanted to know how the leaf springs are going, and that was something. So I talked to Scott yesterday, and he still wants to get his airbag kind of replaced with springs. I gave Ed a call, the guy who we're working with, and they had to custom order the steel for this thing. It takes a special steel because it's they build leaf springs for old 50s cars and stuff, so this is a little bigger than what they normally deal with. They certainly can do it, they just don't keep this steel in stock. So they ordered two 22-foot bars of the proper spring material, which is, he said, enough to build 8 springs. And so the steel plant actually has to make it when he orders it. It's not like they have it laying around. So he expects the steel will be in beginning of next week, and then they'll get to work in building them. And so they're building 4 springs for me, and then I imagine once we look at them and get them in, if Scott likes what he sees, then Scott will probably, he needs to do something, but if this all works out, then I would imagine Scott's going to talk to him as well. So it's, that's been pretty good. I've been fairly happy with those guys. I didn't think it was going to get done in a day, but they keep moving forward with it. So
especially when you have a one-off project where they're, this isn't a template that they have. We sent measurements. They actually came and picked up the leaf springs, took them back to their shop, took them apart, and are, building them.
Yeah. Well, they're not intimidated by it. They just haven't seen one. But the upside is now they've blueprinted it. So if other Silverside owners need these springs, we can go from there. Are you going to rebuild the old ones after the replacement is done? That's a good question. If I put all new springs on my bus, I may, if Scott's got interest, the front springs, a few of the leaves are cracked, but you could rebuild these. You could, these guys could rebuild the ones I've got and make them available. Maybe if Scott wants brand new ones, he would get new ones, but maybe I'll see what the price is to just fix these, have them hold on to them, and throw them up on, on the Bus Grease Monkey to see if anybody else needs a set of these springs. It'd be nice to reuse them. I certainly won't in my lifetime need to replace springs again. This thing is, it's been 80 years and it's done pretty good.
You don't plan on jumping it?
Jumping what?
Your bus.
No, I'm not going to jump the bus.
Oh, where's your sense of adventure?
Yeah. So anyway, well, that's it. There's not much left to do on this bus besides get the engine replaced. That's all that we need now, really.
Just a quick engine swap, and it'll be right back on the road.
We'll do an engine swap. But it does lend to, you've got all these guys, these roadkill guys, and these guys out there that, they build a car in a 20-minute video. And I can tell you, I'm sure if you've got a garage like that, we've got a crane, and, it's not quite like that in real life. There's a lot of...
This is the stuff that gets edited out of those videos.
But they all are dealing with brand new stuff. But even so, if they pull an engine or a transmission out of a junkyard, they're still, getting screws out of it, getting it cleaned up, checking it over. All that stuff doesn't make it to the video, and that's a lot of, what you end up doing when you're rescuing one of these buses is I want to work on the bus more, but I find that I spend a lot of time running to and from a parts store getting parts for it. So anyway, there's a question if we're going to rebuild the old engine after the replacement's done. And that's, you want to tell them a little bit about that red block?
So there's a possibility that we could rebuild that block, but just the block is red, not anything else, which there are some remanufacturers that do paint those red when they're done. But it's a Jasper special, and they paint them. They tape off the intake and the exhaust, and the whole thing top to bottom gets painted red. This just has a red block. And from everything that we've been told and can find from some people that have been around for a while, that's what Greyhound used to do when the engine was on its last rebuild. So when it's been bored out, as big as you can get liners for, they would paint the block red as an indication that when it comes apart, that block goes to scrap. So if that's the case, we could try to fit another set of liners, hoping that we don't have to bore it to clean it up. But if the liners have poor fitment, you're not getting good heat transfer into the block for cooling. That's going to really shorten the lifespan of that engine rebuild. So if it's got a poor fitment or something, we can't fix it. You know, if it's at its maximum bore, there's nothing that we can do to get a set of liners to fit back in there.
So Tim wanted to know, and of course, you and I've talked about this too, is what other engine options do you have for an old bus like this?
I mean, with enough money, I can put just about anything in there. But it's not going to be cheap. So 671s, that's what almost all of them have been. Now, there are a couple of D-deck 671s out there. Gene Russell's bus is a D-deck.
John's bus.
Yeah, John's bus.
The former Mark Renner bus has a D-deck.
Yep, that is a D-deck 671.
Explain what a D-deck is.
It's electronically controlled.
So it's basically a 671. It's just got
electronic control,
electronic injection, so it runs more efficiently, and you can get
it's
more.
Not exactly electronic injection. The governor control is all electronic on it.
Okay, so you can get more horsepower out of it.
Yep, and both of those buses are turbocharged.
Okay.
Which Gene built both of them. Gene is the one who he made his and he made Mark's setup.
But like a 6V92
won't fit. You have to do an inline.
Okay, so it has to be an inline. So this has got what's called a V transmission.
Yeah.
It's a transmission that is super tight. It's not like a straight transmission. I mean, you look like an Eagle, and if you ever see like the length of an Eagle engine and transmission with the drive shaft is like what, 6 feet. I mean, the engine sticks way out in the back behind the back wheels, and that's because the engine is it's straight to the transmission. This uses a Spicer V transmission. So the power comes out of the side of the engine, you know, your crank comes out of the side of the engine, and then it has to make like it's not even a 45, it's not a 90 degree, it's like, what would that be?
It's about a 45 degree. 45 on the trans and a 45 on the diff. Yeah,
45 to trans, 45 to diff. So you've got this special transmission, and you really can't fit others there. So somebody said that they've seen the 4104 and 4106 with a 6V71 or a 6V92 and a 7V71 that also use D-drive. Why can they do that and we can't?
So Silversides has a different transmission. The Spicer 4-speed, the manual that's in there, is different in a Silversides than it is in a 4104. So we don't have the luxury in those of having as much room. It's a very tight engine bay in a Silversides compared to those, so you're pretty much stuck with it. Even like an Allison V730, the automatic transmission that normally gets swapped into a lot of these buses, you know, the one that we put into Lance is 4106. You can't just slap one of those on the back of a 671 in a Silversides. I believe there's one. I don't know if there's more. There's a Silversides though that I know is running an Allison V730, but he's running a 50 series Detroit in it. So a 50 series is a 4-cylinder version of the 60 series, which is the 4-stroke replacement for all these 2-stroke Detroit 71, 92s, all those. But they had to run a 50 series to get a short enough engine to fit that transmission in there, but to have enough power to move it, because you really can't go down to a 471 in a Silversides. It is gutless to run a 471 in one of those.
I wouldn't really want a 471. I wouldn't want to go down.
Yeah. So to go down to a 4-cylinder that's short enough, though, you need to go up in power, so they go to a 50 series. 50 series.
Yeah. So Rodney just joined us. So Rodney's down in South Carolina. Was he debating getting a 3751 he found in some guy's backyard that he's going to have to like clear a bunch of trees to get the thing out. It's been there for so long. For what he's told me, it had the original 19-inch rims on it, and so I don't know what he's doing with that, but he has a 4104 project that he just got. And these things are addictive, man. It's not like just buying a couple cars you can park in your backyard. These are buses. So Tim wants to know what's going on with your bus. Why don't you kind of recap that?
Everyone keeps asking about it. It's the same as what it was. I mean, we didn't have time to get it done before Christmas. We had to be home for Christmas. Mom would have been very upset if we decided we're going to postpone Christmas a week or two while I get my bus going. It has moved from the location it was at. The person who owns it fired it up and drove it to his house, so it drove 20 or 30 miles from where we looked at it. It's been on the road, it runs, it drives. It's going to need some tires. But I'm waiting for a break in Dad's schedule to go get it. It's still in North Carolina. We're going down to Tennessee in a couple days. We have to do an engine swap. He's going to go down to Florida. I'm heading back to Indiana. I think the plan is I'm going to drive out to North Carolina. We'll meet out there because we still need to finish that Wonder Lodge that we were working on. Go grab my bus. I think the plan from there is to head over to Gene's shop because Dad wants to put on power steering on his bus. So we'll just go through North Carolina with my bus at that point, hopefully picked up, get the power steering on Dad's and come back. But I don't want to drive out there in my truck. I have to have a way to get back home. So if I drive one of Mom and Dad's car out there or something, Mom can drive her car home, I can drive my bus, Dad can drive his. And then I have, tools and support if something happens on the way home. It's been sitting for a while.
And that becomes the other challenge.
Yeah, I got to make everyone's schedule work for this.
With the engine swap, Bill's been waiting for Tyler to come back to Nashville to swap out that Wonder Lodge engine, or no, Eagle. What is that? Eagle.
Yeah.
So 8V71.
No, 6V92 T8.
Wow, 6V91 turbo in his. So he's got that. Then he's moving. Then he's got to go get his bus. And so beyond just budget and finding an engine, and I've got a real job and all of that, and so getting back down there is going to be a challenge. That's one of the problems. We left the bus parked in the guy's front yard. If you look at the last video Tyler had, that's the guy's front yard. I don't think he'd be down with it sitting there for 6 months, and so he certainly can move it. It starts, it drives. It's not going to be a problem if he wants to put it somewhere else. But
well, the door's locked.
Yeah, but he can get it open. He knows how to do that. Yeah, he taught us how to lock the doors, and then he indicated that it's really hard to get them back open.
After we locked it?
After we locked it, he's like, oh, yeah. He goes, you got to get a block of wood, and, so basically it's locked shut. And, but he said, leave it up front. I kept asking him, is there somewhere else you'd rather have this be? Because it's going to sit here for a while. It's like, oh, no, it's fine up there. Well, now he doesn't have, he's got a view of the bus out of his front window. And so he'll probably end up, it starts and drives, it just can't go very far. He can probably move it somewhere else if he wants to, but we haven't figured about that. So anyway, if you're just joining us, notice we're up to 130 right now. We are driving home from Snyder, Texas without my bus. We're in Illinois somewhere.
You know what they say though, man? Third time's a charm.
Yeah, you know what? They say, like, one and done is my favorite phrase. So
well, we passed that one, so we got to find the next good motivational phrase.
Yeah. So we'll, we've got to find a time to do it, but it's probably not going to be till April, or, it's going to be a while. I know March is out for me. I've got so much work.
I've got some stuff going on in the beginning of April with my bus, and then May I've got a few races that I have to schedule around. But
so it may be second half of April before we find an engine, get it there, blah blah blah.
Hopefully before it turns to like stupid hot in Texas too.
Yeah, that's the other motivation to get done quick is, you get into June, July, August, it gets to be 100, and changing an engine at 100 degrees, 34, which it was, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning is 34. I can live with that. We woke up, it was 15 degrees here this morning. We can live with cold. The hot is going to stink.
Yeah.
So
there is no way to escape it out there too. Places we have access to swap that engine with, a good solid ground that we can work on. We're going to be in the middle of the parking lot baking.
So Kevin said that during a live stream, some people were saying that they were, somebody had engines. Kevin, which live video was that Scott had somebody posting that they had engines? Not that I'm looking. I can find them. I'm going to probably find 3 or 4 options and figure out which one's the best one. Problem is just finding one that's been pulled out of a bus. You don't know what problems that one has. You want to find one that's been rebuilt, or you're talking to a mechanic who is understands really what's going on with that bus. The last thing I want to do is buy a new block and then have to rebuild it again.
Yeah.
So is the video on the drive back from Gilbert. Okay, the live shot. Yeah, that one day where he drove like 700 miles. Well, I'll have to go through that and see if I can't track down. Problem with YouTube is even though you have a screen name, there's really it's not like you can go email them off the screen name. That's sometimes a little harder than it, so.
Yeah, the ability of YouTube getting rid of, the direct message feature really sucks. It's not like I can just send a channel a message now. I mean, at least people trying to reach me, they know what social media outlets to reach to, or, they have my phone number. But just finding somebody else who's commenting gets to be very difficult.
We have some options. I've already talked to an old bus guy in California. He's like, oh yeah, he says, I'll find you one. I'd love to find one in Texas, to be honest with you. I'm hoping I can find one in Lubbock. Lubbock and Odessa are such industrial places. Lubbock's only an hour away. And if I can find one there, that came off the oil fields or whatever, the brother-in-law, who's a diesel mechanic, said they had both left-hand and right-hand engines in the oil fields. So if I can find one in Texas, I'd rather probably do that to save on shipping and all of that. But they have a big forklift. They can take a shipment of a engine in a crate and have it waiting there for us. Anyway. So Jason said he's already tried to find the guy who has the engine, and he's wishing us luck. Jason, by the way, is the guy who turned me on to this bus.
Thanks, Jason.
And, I already thank Tom for the 4101. No, I mean, this is a great bus. It's like, it's got a bad engine, but man, once that engine's done, it's complete. All the heating system works. I mean, it's just basically getting it loosened up and getting it working again. What I really need to do is go through and read the operator's manual, because unlike my other bus, everything is here. So I have to read how all this stuff works. Everything on the bus is there. I think that maybe the little pony generator is missing, but you said you've got one.
My bus has the entire pony motor and AC compressor from the stock AC, and I need that bay back for a generator. So if you want my pony motor and all my factory AC parts out of my bus, you're more than welcome to them. Because mine already has holes in the roof. Somebody has put rooftop airs on it at some point. So I'm just going to go back to running rooftops. So if you want my pony motor and all my AC parts, you can have them.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
You're saving me the effort of having to find someone to go get it and take it out of my hands, because it's going to come out and sit in my driveway until I have to move, and then I'll have to find something to do with it.
Yeah. So they're saying there's engines in Michigan. I don't want them in Michigan. I want them in Texas. I don't want to have to. I can't haul a 4,000-pound engine 22 hours. I guess I would rather find it an hour away and go torture a U-Haul or something. U-Hauls are great. We used to, when we would rescue Volkswagen buses, we would rent a U-Haul truck. We'd call a tow truck, a flatbed tow truck, and the bed of a flatbed tow truck's dead even with a U-Haul. So we'd put it up onto the tow truck and then wheel it into the U-Haul and strap it down. And I am sure U-Haul's horrified. They know what goes on, but they just don't know that they're transporting cars all over the place. Inside the box. But we'll do that with the engine if we find it. So anyway, well, we've been on for I don't know, how long have we been going? For about 40 minutes. Do you have any other questions? Otherwise, we can probably sign off. I don't know. Anything else to add?
Not yet. I mean, we're just going to sit and figure out what the plan is and get something together here. But I'll keep everyone updated on the community tab. Sage also has a YouTube channel. You guys want to check him out? What's your channel's name?
I think if you just do VW Sage or The Sage, or click on my thing. I'm also on Facebook, Amalgamated Sage on Facebook. I have a whole page where I get into some of this detail and my budgets and stuff like that. And then I've got a website, vwsage.com, which pretty much is just I'm posting the videos and posting the stuff that I put on my Facebook page. So you can find me a lot of different ways.
Yeah, there's some behind the scenes. He shot a lot of video that was stuff I didn't cover.
All of Tyler's swearing. I've got some good footage of his belly when he's crawling out from underneath the bus.
Yeah, you probably have like my ass crack leaning over stuff. Great time lapses he's got there.
Yeah, actually, the replacement of the air compressor, I will time lapse that. I took a video of the entire process. All right, well, so it looks like your dad just put a video up, Scott. Bus Grease Monkey just threw up a late maintenance video.
So everyone's going to jump off the live stream anyway and watch his video.
So am I. You can keep the live stream going. I'm going to go watch that now. Anyway, well, guys, thank you for the feedback and everything. You know, it'll continue, but it's going to be probably April or later. And we'll, in the meantime, I'm going to turn my attention back to the bus I've got in Indy, and because I really want that one running for the summer. So, all right, well, that's it. We'll sign off here from Illinois, which if you live in Illinois, I apologize, but it's probably the least favorite state in the Great Lakes region. We all hate Illinois. So far, the drivers have been behaving today, but anyway. All right, well, that's it from the Happy Midwest. Tyler, say goodbye to your fans.
Bye.
All right.
We'll see you guys later.
So now I got to figure out how to stop it.
There's an X in the top corner.
Okay, there we go. Do you want to stop streaming?